Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to teach the easiest, the most fun class on essential oils. And the cool part about this is, if you've been in doTERRA and you've already been teaching, you don't have to learn how to teach a whole new class. You're basically going to use the same information you've already been using to teach your basic classes, but I'm going to teach you how to do things just a little bit differently, but it changes everything. This goes along with doTERRA's training program and Empowered Life. In the build guide, you'll find information instructing you to teach a class on page 8 in the present section. Here, I'm going to show you how to teach that class. You guys, I have been doing this for over 10 years. I've taught all kinds of classes. I have seen presentations of all different kinds of classes, some excellent classes, some not as excellent. I present in groups of 8 to 10 all the time. I present in front of groups of hundreds. I present to groups of thousands. I just finished presenting to a group at an autism summit of 15,000 people. I present to laymen, to businessmen, to doctors, to administrators of hospitals. I have classes where no one shows up. I have classes where only one person shows up. I know what it's like, and there are different ways to approach your presentation depending on what kind of a setting it is. But today, right now, I'm talking about your basic essential oil class, the class you teach over and over and over again to build your business. And I will tell you the biggest mistake you can make when teaching your basic essential oils class to a small group is to make it complicated. A 10-year-old, and I'm not exaggerating when I say a 10-year-old, 10 years old, that's 5th grade, should be able to watch you teach a class one time, and then they could copy you and teach it. And they may not be able to do it as well as you. They may not remember everything you said, but they would be able to basically teach the class you taught. You won't have people quitting because it's too hard or because they think they're not good at it like you are. They won't feel like they don't have the right personality to do this business or the right skill set or enough knowledge. So what I'm telling you is you will find more leaders and your leaders will be more successful. Duplication means that you can tell someone something once and they'll remember it. And that person can tell someone on the other side of the city once and they'll remember it. And that person could tell somebody on the other part of the world once and they'll remember it. That is duplication. So in this class, we are only going to tell them 3 cool things about essential oils. Why 3? There are a million cool things about essential oils, right? I'll tell you why 3. Because of what we have learned from some of the most brilliant presenters and business minds in the world. Steve Jobs. Let me tell you what Steve Jobs did in his presentations. Every time he presented a brand new technology, let's take the iPhone. How many things can the iPhone do? 1 million things. And by the way, how many things can the oils do? 1 million. But do you know what Steve Jobs did? Instead of focusing on so many different things, he would focus on 3. 3 things. The reason he's one of the greatest presenters of all time is because he had the ability to take really complicated things and make them so simple. He told 3 things, 3 cool things the iPhone did. Can you imagine how tempting it must have been for him to tell more than 3? But he said 3 things. He said, you no longer have to have an MP3 player in your pocket because guess what? It plays music. And you can talk on it because it's a phone. And it's a mini computer. It's a computer, a music player, and a phone all in one. That's all he talked about. 3 things. And everyone left. And guess what they talked about when they got home and their families asked them, so tell me about the new product. What do you think they said? They said, oh my goodness, this new phone, it plays music. It does what? You guys know it's a mini computer and it's a phone all in one. That's all they remembered from this presentation. And Steve Jobs knew that that was all they would remember. Is there a place for more advanced classes where you share more advanced information, where you change it up and do different classes, get creative, run weekend clinics, all kinds of fun, crazy stuff? Yes. But not for the basic class that you do over and over again, that you teach your team to do over and over again. It must be duplicatable. Let's start with the setup of the class. First, I'll go through the don'ts. The number 1, do not do. Please don't do any big setup. This will kill your classes. Don't do a big setup on the table with the products and decorations. If you came to a class like that, would you, looking at this big presentation, sit in that room when somebody says, who would like to have a class like this? What are you thinking? Heck no. Number 2, don't have food before or during your class. Don't ever, ever have food at your class. Food comes just a little bit later, and I'll show you how that works. And the third thing you do not need is a diffuser. And I know some of you are freaking out right now thinking, what? Don't have a diffuser. What happens if you have a diffuser? Then people think they need a diffuser to have a class. Let me quickly go through some of the powerful tips that will help your classes be more successful. Some of these are for during the class, some are for after, immediately after, and some are for the follow-up. I'll give you 10 tips for during the class. Tip number 1, make sure you hold your classes each week at the same time and the same place. Your business will grow faster if you do this. Now, for your launch week, if you're new, you want all random times. So that doesn't apply to your launch week, but same time each week for your regular classes after that. Tip number 2, make sure you have one wellness advocate there for every 3 attendees to help you close at the end. If you don't, you will lose people. Tip number 3, be at your best. Good energy, looking great, big smile. You are fully present. You are ready to serve. And your intention is that you will have a 95% enrollment rate. Tip number 4, make sure 95% of your attendees have been properly sampled. If you don't know how to do this, watch my video on how to sample essential oils effectively. Tip number 5, keep it simple. Teach to a 5th grade level. 5th grade is 10 years old. Tip number 6, keep the class to 45 minutes and start and end on time. Tip number 7, set up a wellness consult with every attendee, whether they purchase or not. Tip number 8, serve refreshments after the intro class, which is during the business overview class, which I teach you all about in a different video. Tip number 9, do not get the essential oil book out until the end of the class. Tip number 10, maintain control of your class. Have you ever had someone in your class who is constantly talking and they're cutting you off? It can be anything from distracting all the way to obnoxious, right? Have you guys had one of those in your class before? Can I tell you a way that you can handle this person? Did you know that all they're wanting is attention? That's all they're wanting. They're wanting attention. You simply give them attention. Super easy if you know what to say. If you're in a new class and this is happening, you just look straight at them and say, I love that you have these awesome questions. I love that. Can I come after the class and sit and talk with you personally and answer all these questions for you? Is that okay? And I can give you a little bit more detail. Or I might say, I love that, but that's going deeper than we're going to go in this class today. So let's talk about that together after. They say, oh yeah, that's okay. That's all you do. And if they talk again, now you can say, I'll talk to you about that when we meet after. I'll totally go over that. You shut it down. They just want attention. Give them some. And can I tell you something interesting? Do you know why people chat in your class? Because it's boring. It's too long. You're lecturing. If it's super interactive and it's short and simple and really informative, they don't chat at all. They like the class. It's a fun class and they don't want to miss things. Here are some tips for after the class, immediately after. I have 3 for you. Tip number 1, have a business overview class after your basic oils class. Tip number 2, save your refreshments for the business overview class. I mentioned this before. It's really important, and I talk about it in more detail in my video where I teach you how to run the business builder class. Tip number 3, input all orders that same night. You want to process shipments immediately so they can get their oils as soon as possible. And here's a tip for the day after the class. And there's just one, but it is really important. Contact and follow up with everyone who couldn't attend your class and reschedule them for your next class or for a one-on-one or something like that. 2 days after the class, I have 2 tips for you. Tip number 1, remind guests of their wellness consult that's scheduled for the following week. And number 2, tip number 2, if they asked to host a class, start preparing them for a successful class. A tip for 1 week after the class, there's just one, reschedule any wellness consults that canceled. And finally, tips for 2 weeks after the class. Tip number 1, continue following up with everyone who attended. Are they needing a wellness consult or a continuing education class or what? And tip number 2, for those who did not enroll during your class, you could invite them to your continuing education classes. Now I'll go through with you what you do need for your class. There are only 6 items. Number 1, you need 2 essential oils, a bottle of peppermint and a bottle of wild orange. Can you have more oils to show and pass around? Yes. Do you need more oils to teach a class? No. What's the psychology here? What happens if I come teach a class and I bring my every oil kit and every product we carry? You guys already know. My leaders feel like they have to spend all this money to run their business, and my possible hosts and hostesses think it's too complicated or too expensive to hold a class. Number 2, the second thing you need for your class is a slip of paper that's an enter to win for a drawing. You don't have to have this, but it's a good idea. Have that on their chair when they arrive. You'll find that on my website, teresaharding.com. Number 3, the third thing you need for your class is an A to Z guide or an essential oil handout or essential oil books, something that summarizes in alphabetical order what essential oils support which health challenges. The essential oil handout is just a handout you create yourself. It's like an A to Z guide, only you did it yourself. Just one printed page, front and back. If you can afford it, use the big hardcover books. You can use the Modern Essentials book or the Essential Life book. I like them both, but I like the Essential Life book best for this situation. I'll tell you why. It's eye candy, and people spend way more time in it, which gives them more ideas of how to use the oils. And it gives you more time to get to each person after the class. The number 4 thing you need is handouts to give everyone at the beginning. doTERRA has a beautiful one completely ready for you. It's called Natural Solutions, and I've got it for you here, ready to download, or you can go to doTERRA.com or on my website, teresaharding.com. It has everything you need except the A to Z guide. But if that is too expensive for you, the only handouts that are must-haves are a handout with pictures of the kits doTERRA sells and the enrollment form. That's it. The 2 optional handouts are something with a summary of the class you're teaching and the doTERRA price list that has wholesale and retail pricing. If you use the Natural Solutions pamphlet from doTERRA, it has everything in there that you need except the A to Z guide. The 5th thing you need is these little mini sample bottles filled with whatever oils that you want. Make sure you have at least 15 or so. What kind of samples are you going to bring? The cheapest ones. You're going to bring lavender. You're going to bring lemon, the cheapest ones. And make sure you use the size of bottle that's 1/4 dram. Don't use the bigger ones. These are the teeniest, tiniest ones. It's a good idea to just keep a bunch of them with you at all times. In the class, you may only use 6 or 7. You'll probably use more like 10 to 15, but you may need more. So you want to make sure you don't run out. The 6th thing you need is the little doTERRA keychain. It is so cute. It holds 8 sample bottles inside. The 7th thing you need is pens, something to write with. And then, of course, you need something to carry all of that in. You need 6 things for this class, you guys, and something to carry it in. 6 things. That is not very many. The peppermint and orange oil, a slip of paper for the drawing to enter to win, the A to Z guide or equivalent, whatever handouts you need, the mini sample bottles, the doTERRA keychain, pens, and something to carry it in. That's it. Do you think it starts to feel for people like it's not that big of a deal to have a class? You should be able to set up your class in 40 seconds, less than a minute. Let me talk to you about something called book ending because this is important. When you teach your class, you need to do something called book ending. This is the most effective way to teach human beings. Book ending is when you start each section by verbally identifying what you're going to talk about. Then you talk about it, but whatever you want to say in that section, then you'll verbally identify that that is what you just talked about. Right before you begin the class, your hostess says to the class, please fill out the drawing slip on your chair while we're waiting for the last few people to arrive. And then to begin the class, first, someone needs to introduce the presenter and they need to introduce them well. The people who came to this class need to have a good reason to care what the presenter has to say. You make the presenter look good. It's like 3 or 4 sentences. That's it, less than 30 seconds. Let me show you how it's done. Even if someone is brand new in doTERRA, you can make it sound really good. All you need to know is something cool about them, something cool about the business, and something cool about the product. It can be maybe she really cares about helping people. And the business, she is so attentive and available whenever the people on her team need something. We don't need to know a ton of stuff about this person. We don't need a bio. What if it's a really big leader who has a huge team and is an expert? I can say something like, she's traveled all over the world. Thousands of people want to talk with her. You get her tonight. Don't take more than 30 seconds. Don't share your story of why you got involved in doTERRA right here. There's a better time to share it. It will be near the beginning of the close. You're going to begin the class by saying, I'm really excited to teach you about essential oils today. Besides being with my family and traveling or whatever your favorite things are, teaching classes on essential oils is something I totally love to do. Next, you'll tell them 3 cool things about essential oils, and you're going to bookend on every one. Start off by saying, my goal for this class is for you to walk away knowing 3 new facts about essential oils. If you leave remembering these 3 things, then I've done my job. Now, really emphasize the part when you say, the first amazing fact about essential oils is they are 100% natural. They're safe. The oils are 50 to 70 times more powerful and more concentrated than herbs. Nothing is added to the oils. Nothing is taken away. They have no side effects or addictions. You can give them to a baby, to a child, a teenager, a mom, somebody who's elderly. They are safer, they're cheaper, they're more effective than over-the-counter options. It gives me confidence that my child can get support for their immune system, for their digestive challenges, improve their mood, or help with any number of things for their body by using essential oils. There's testing done on every bottle of their oil. They're 100% natural. Then ask the class, who here has irritation or discomfort in their neck? Come up and I'd like you to try this Deep Blue Rub. This is a blend of oils and is made specifically with oils that support your muscles and joints to help soothe the irritation and discomfort. Call them up, apply Deep Blue. Who here has tension or pressure in your head? Come on up, I'd like you to try this great oil called Past Tense. This blend of oils is like magic for head tension or pressure. Let me tell you about peppermint. The way it opens up your lungs helps us know it's great for anything you've got going on with your respiratory system. You can rub it along your child's spine if your child feels too hot, helps support a lower body temperature. I'm going to pass the peppermint around so you can see what it's like. I want you to put just 1 drop on your palm, then rub your hands together like this, hold your hands up to your nose and breathe it in. Or you can drip a drop right down your throat like this, and I show them how to do it, but be prepared because it's very strong. But within about 5 to 10 seconds, as you're breathing in, you are going to be amazed at how it opens up your respiratory pathways. Then pass the peppermint around. It's really fun for everybody to be able to try the oil, and they will have fun as they pass it around. People will be distracted by the oil, so don't try to start up the class immediately. Give them a few minutes to have their experience with the peppermint. After the room settles down a little, say, who here can tell me about peppermint? What is something you can use peppermint for? And give away a sample to the person who offered the answer. Then say, what is the second cool thing you can tell me about peppermint oil? Give a sample to the person who answers that question. Then you say, so who here can tell me the first cool fact about essential oils? Raise your hand. What is it? Call on someone who's raising their hand. They'll say they're safe or they're 100% natural. And you'll say, that's right. Awesome. And if 2 people call it out at the same time, I can just say, wait, raise your hand. Then I can call on 1 person. Now you say, and emphasize this, the second interesting fact about essential oils is that they are more effective than over-the-counter options. I'm being compliant here. You can use your own words. Here are a few ideas of things you can say. Do we have any health professionals here with us tonight? Yes? Okay, so you'll know a lot about this, but let's go way back to Biology 101. You can hold up your fist and say, imagine this is a cell in your body, and around that cell is an oily membrane. That oily membrane protects the cell. There are different things that will harm a cell, and it's usually tiny microorganisms that are damaging the cell. Some of those microorganisms are on the outside of the cell, and some are on the inside. Did you know that most antibiotics you get from the doctor cannot penetrate the cell because of that membrane? That's why a doctor won't give them to you for certain things. But the essential oils not only affect the outside of the cell, they can also penetrate that cell wall and get to the inside of the cell. And once you apply them, they begin to circulate in your body within 30 seconds. So, who can tell me what the second cool fact was? Then be smiling, have fun with them. And everybody's raising their hands. The person you pick gives the answer, and you say, yes, and you toss them a little sample bottle of essential oil. Then you say, the third interesting fact about essential oils is that they are less expensive than over-the-counter options. Let's talk about what normally happens when you're not feeling so great. What do you pay to go to the doctor? Ask people what they pay. Whose copay is less than $50? What about 20? Who has the lowest copay? Get people to answer. You know what? Let's just use 0. Let's say you don't pay anything to go to the doctor. You get a prescription. What do you pay for a prescription? How long will you or your children be on the medication? Maybe 7 to 14 days max. What does that cost you in time? You lose time from work. Your child has to stay home from school. The gas money to get to the doctor. What about the consequences of repeat medication? I use lavender, basil, and melaleuca essential oil for me or for my children when we start to get that scratchy throat and start to experience irritation and discomfort in the ears. And within 12 hours, we experience the support we need. This costs 64 cents and only takes 12 hours. Why? Because basil addresses the discomfort, lavender soothes the irritation, and melaleuca addresses the microorganisms. You can't afford not to be using essential oils. Then you'll say, so what was the third cool fact? Remember, be fun about it. Honestly, that's half of what makes this fun for them, is if you're smiling, you're having fun with them, you're excited for them to answer. Give a sample bottle to the person who answers. Then ask, who can tell me all 3 cool facts about essential oils? The 3 cool facts about essential oils are they're safer, cheaper, and more effective than over-the-counter options. Give a sample to the person who volunteers and answers that. Then say, perfect. If that's all you remember from tonight's class, then I have done my job. Adults love this. When they leave that night and they go home to their spouse and their spouse asks, how was it, honey? What did they say? Oh my goodness, did you know that essential oils are safer? They're actually more effective than over-the-counter options and they're less expensive. When you're done with that part, now you're going to say, let's talk about 3 really easy ways we can use essential oils. And of course, you're going to bookend for every single one. Notice how I'm saying the word we. 3 really easy ways we can use essential oils. Aromatically, topically, and internally. Now you tell them the first way we can use essential oils is aromatically. Touch your nose right up here and tell them, that's the olfactory nerve system. That kind of tickles. That gives everything you smell a direct line to your brain. The fastest way to get it to your brain is by breathing it in. When you go under for surgery, what do? They put anesthesia over your nose, then they tell you to count backwards from 100. Most people make it to 97. Tell them they can hold it up to their nose and breathe it in. They can put a drop in their hands like we just did with the peppermint. They can breathe it in like that. They can rub a drop right under their nose. They can use a diffuser. There are all kinds of ways to use the oils aromatically. Now ask them, what health challenges do you think you might use the essential oils aromatically for? Everybody wants to give the answer. Then you give somebody a free sample. Then what do you say to end this section? That was the first way you can use essential oils. What was it? Raise your hand. Everybody raises their hand. You call on someone. They say, use it aromatically, and you toss them a little sample bottle. Then you say, the second really easy way to use essential oils is topically. There are 3 places you never want to put essential oils. Directly in your eyes, directly in your nose, or undiluted on people with sensitive skin. To use it topically, you just put the oil right on location, anywhere you need the support. For example, if you have discomfort in your muscle, you just apply it right to that area. If you have tension in your head, you apply oils to your temples or the back of your neck. For overall support, apply to the bottoms of your feet. Your feet have some of the largest pores, so your body can easily absorb the oil. For people with sensitive skin, use coconut oil before you apply it. Then give a life experience of using the essential oils topically, or ask for a guest to share an experience where they used the sample they received topically. Then you say, so what's the second way we can use the oils? Somebody answers, toss the sample bottle to the person who answered. Make sure, of course, that it's filled with oil. Then you tell them the third really easy way to use essential oils is internally. Because of the level of quality of doTERRA's essential oils, they're safe to take internally. In fact, the CPTG grade means it's not just safe to use internally, it's actually recommended. You can add them to water. You can get these empty gel caps from any health food store. You just pull it apart because they're empty, put drops of essential oils in it, put it back together and swallow it just like any normal pill. In the back of the room, we have put a few drops of lemon essential oil into the water. Lemon is great oil to support your immune system. It's also great for your digestive system. For oils that don't taste good in the water, just make your own homemade pills, or you can purchase pre-made doTERRA capsules. So what are health challenges you might use the oils internally for? People want to answer, somebody answers, you toss them a sample to the person who responds. What are some health challenges where you could use the essential oils all 3 ways? Then people respond, give out a free sample. Then I ask them, so who can tell me all 3 ways you can use the oils? Raise your hand. Somebody gives the answer, you toss them in oil. Now, after we went through that, you guys, 3 cool things about essential oils and 3 ways to use them, how many of you feel like, I could totally do that? What we just did. Super easy, Super simple. That's what we're going for, and we're almost done already. This next part of the class, it will not work if you haven't prepped your people by making sure they've had a good experience with the oils before they come to the class. You are going to invite people up to share their stories, and you want to prep it like this. Tell the class, okay, you guys, this is what we're going to do. I want anyone that has had a good experience with essential oils to actually come up to the front and share with us their experience, and I'll actually give you some essential oils, some free essential oils on 2 conditions. Number 1, whatever you share has to be under 1 minute. If it's over a minute, we'll totally enjoy what you're saying, but I won't give you a free oil, okay? Second, you have to share an oil that somebody else has not talked about. So just 2 things. Under a minute has to be a good experience with doTERRA essential oils and an oil that someone else hasn't talked about yet. Then say, so who would like to come up and share with us? Now, people are all excited to raise their hands because you've been tossing around free oils. Everybody's excited to get one. You choose someone to come up to the front and say, okay, tell me what oil you are going to be discussing. They tell the oil, they share their story. When they're done, you say, wow, that is amazing. Did she do it under a minute, you guys? The class says yes. You say, I think so. Wow, that was great. That's an incredible story. Here is a bottle of Digescen. Who else wants to come up and share with us? Under a minute and a different essential oil. What happens if someone tries to talk about an oil that's already been talked about? We don't want them to feel bad, but we do need to keep the control of the class. I just say, wait, somebody already used On Guard. You have to pick a different oil. Then they pick a different story. But what if they can't think of one? I don't want them to feel uncomfortable, so I'll say, okay, what we'll do is we'll let somebody else go while you're thinking. What if they go over a minute? You simply say, oh my goodness, that is so good. I love that. It was such a good testimony. It was over a minute, but you know what? It was so good. You guys, don't you think that we should give her an oil? Then I say, okay, so I'm actually going to give you some peppermint, or whichever one you have, of course. Then everybody that comes up after that thinks what? I have to keep it down under a minute. Otherwise, you're going to have people coming up and rambling on and on. You guys, how much more effective is it for them to hear from each other than for them to be hearing from me? Way more effective. It is powerful. Can you imagine a brand new person that all they're thinking in their minds is maybe, oh, peppermint's really cool for the tension that was in my head, but they don't use anything else. And all these people share these amazing stories and they're thinking, whoa, the essential oils do all of this. And you need to remember that if you're not interactive with your class, it's boring. It's too simplistic. But if you are interactive like this, it's so fun and they love it. The last thing you're going to do before you do your close is you are going to invite people to have a class off of your class. And I'm going to show you the way that gets the best results based on market research. I think it's best to do it right after the testimonials, but either way, this is what you'll do. Pull out this little doTERRA keychain, super cute, holds 8 of these tiny bottles of essential oils. It says doTERRA right across the front, and it comes in different colors. Bring out your little keychain and say, okay, I'm going to show you something so cute. I love them. This is a little essential oil keychain. I think every single mom or person, use whatever word fits your class, needs to have one of these. I have one. I take it everywhere I go. I never go anywhere without it. It's always in my purse or I hook it to my travel backpack. It's the thing that I use the most. And I just fill it up with everything I need for my kids, if you have animals. So there are these little tiny sample bottles. I like frankincense. I like Melaleuca. If my kids get an upset stomach, I like Digescen. Wild orange for when they get stressed, or you can have lavender for when they're exposed to the sun too long, or if they get a bug bite, anything like that. Whatever is your favorite oil, you can totally just put it in here. Look at that. Isn't that so cute? How many of you want one of these? Do you guys want one of these? Who do you think says yes? Everyone. You first ask that. How many of you guys want one of these? Everyone says yes, and then you simply say, let me tell you, actually, I don't sell these. These aren't for sale. I actually give them away for free. Who wants one of these? And then they go crazy. Everyone's saying, I totally want one. And I say, okay, all of you? Okay, awesome. Let me tell you how you can earn them. They're free and you earn them. So if you would like me to come and teach a class just like I did tonight, and if you want to invite some of the people that you think would love essential oils the most, I will actually come over and I'll teach a class just like tonight, and we'll have a super great time, and it will change your life and it will change these people's lives too. And you guys, if your class was simple and fun and easy, are they scared? No, they're not scared. Then say, okay, and for every single person that comes to the class, I will give you one oil sample. For every person that comes to the class. If you have 4, you get 4. If you have 8 people show up, you get 8. So it's kind of fun to fill this up. And tonight, if you give me a date that we can decide upon that we can do the class, then I'll give this to you for free. You totally get this, but empty. But when I come to the class, I'm going to fill it up with the bottles. If you do it this way, you will get so many more classes off of classes, and your goal is to get 2 new classes from each class. You could spend forever teaching the hostess how to invite people and how to not be nervous to invite people, but this way, I have hostesses who now, without any training, they'll just go to people and say, oh my goodness, you'll love these, they're awesome, and I'm gonna have the funnest class, and you totally have to come. And I'll even have some hostesses who say to people, I need to get my 8 bottles and I need 1 more person. You have to come. It's super important that you give this case to them empty, totally empty. Then right after you talk about this, you say, oh, and right after this class, how many of you would like to try some of our food or treats or whatever you have? And we even have essential oils in it. Everyone's like, oh, totally. Then tell them we're having a quick, just 15 to 20 minute class. It's super fun. And it's about the power and the blessing of sharing essential oils with other people. And during that, anybody's allowed to stay, and we have some food that we made for you with essential oils. So if you stay, you get to try the essential oil food. That's it. That's what you say. Do you know how many people will stay just to try the food? How many of you would stay just to try the food? Yeah, I know. Most of them stay. I would stay. If you give food at the beginning, you have taken away that opportunity for yourself. That's it. That's what you teach. So easy, so simple. What is it? 3 cool things about essential oils, 3 ways you can use essential oils, testimonials, and invite people to have a class at their place. Could a 10-year-old do this? Yes. Could they do it after seeing the class just 1 time? Yes. How many of you could totally do that? You totally can. How many of you think that you could teach that to anybody on your team and they could do it? Every single one. Now, your action item, go try this. If you're doing regular classes, I want you to give it 3 good months and watch what happens. And I want you to come back. I would love to hear your comments. Tell me how it went. Thanks, you guys, for watching. That was a lot of information today, and you pretty much rock for sticking with this. Now, go rock your business.